Hi, welcome back to Yerushalmi Maasrot. We're Perek Revi Halacha Beis. We are on Daf Lamed Daled Amud Aleph. Tinai kashetamnu te'einim leShabbos. So the children, I don't know what they've been up to. They've been hiding figs in the field, but their intention is we're setting it aside. They had to hide it, otherwise everyone would eat it too prematurely, I think. So they're hiding them to eat in the field for Shabbos. V'shachach le'asran, but the father forgot to take Maaseh. They mustn't eat it. But Motzei Shabbos, even Motzei Shabbos, you can't eat it. But it's not coming in the house. The Kvias Meiser came when Shabbos came in. Okay. We brought Machlokes. Shabbos is Kavaya for Paris, which are not prepared for Shabbos. And we're going to see how our Mishnah fits in with these various opinions on that. Okay. Remember, Shabbos is Kavaya, only fruit that's properly completed. Yeah, Gemar Malachta. Okay. And these figs were considered Gemar Malachta. They were there ready to eat as they were. They weren't going to be dried out. So they were ready to eat. Succulent figs. Okay? Kalkala Shabbos, the basket of fruit you've designated for Shabbos. Beis Shammai Poitrin. Beis Shammai exempts you from Maaseh before Shabbos comes in. Or Beis Hillel Mechayvim. Beis Hillel obligates Maaseh. As soon as you designate it, Beis Hillel say you have to take Maaseh, even before Shabbos comes in. So you sort of designated it for Shabbos. So Beis Shammai say no. You don't have to take Maaseh yet. You can eat it temporary before Shabbos comes in, without separating it. Right? Because Beis Shammai holds, although it can be eaten on Shabbos, and then you can't eat it temporary, but it's not yet Shabbos, so you can still eat it now. Right? That's Beis Shammai. And Beis Hillel said, no. Once you designate for Shabbos, that's it. You must take Maaseh. Rabbi Yehuda, he said, even if you collect a basket of fruit to send to your friend, do not eat until you take Maaseh, because it's kaver Maaseh when you designate it to send it to your friend. I want to discuss that. So you have a big vessel where you heap up all the olives there. If you take olives from that, tovel you can dip one by one in the salt. Well, and eat straight afterwards. You don't have to take Maaseh. It's not yet reached Gemar Malacha. In Malach, if you pickled a few olives, and put them before you, and then you start eating them, that's Gemar Malacha. Therefore, Chaim, you have to take Maaseh. Rabbi Lezer says, if a person who's Tameh took a few olives, min amatan hataho, from this big collection of tahor ones, and he salted them, Chaim, now he has to take Maaseh. Even if he salted them one by one, the reason being, he's not going to be able to put these olives back, right? The matan, that big mound is tahor. He is Tameh. So all these olives, he can't put them back there. So once he takes them, he has to take Maaseh. They were tameh by him touching them. He's not going to mix them with the olives which are tahor. So actually taking them is setting them aside for eating a fixed eating, which is chayav Maaseh. And in a case where he took the olives when are tameh, let's say the man was tameh, then patur. Then he's patur from taking Maaseh, because in this case, Bipnei Shul Machzir, somebody said, now he can, if he's tameh and the stuff is tameh, he can put it back. The olives that will remain. Therefore, by taking them, it's not yet designated as a fixed eating. Now, we said eating achilas keva is also even before the Gemar Malacha. So what's called keva as far as drinking wine? Shoisin, you can drink wine alagas in the place where they tread the grapes. Bein alachabin, bein alasayin, whether it's diluted in hot or cold water. Or potter, you don't have to take Maaseh, divrei ben. But Rezer Sadik Mechayev, Rezer says you have to take Maaseh. The Chachamim, they said alachamin, if it's diluted with hot water, Chaim, you have to take Maaseh. Alatzayin, diluted with cold water, potter, you don't have to take Maaseh. Now we bring a din connected to the first din of our Mishnah. Rabbi Menama, Tineg Shechipa, so a child who covered over a basket, kalkala, with its fruit, in order to take it to the market, Lashuk. Mitzvah, that now requires Maaseh, because the covering the bulk basket is a Gemar Malacha, right? The fruit is ready to sell in the market. So now, as soon as Gemar Malacha is reached, they are teva. Now, although we said that if you're not going to cover the basket, it's Gemar Malacha as soon as you stop cutting it, here the din is different, and the reason is because Malkum Shemachshavta Shal Gadol Miskayemes, if let's say an adult had the thought, I'm not going to bother covering the basket, I'll just take it to the market. So in a place where the adult's thought is continuing and is carried out, even though he didn't do a Maisa, which proves what his thought was, so in that situation, Masav shel katan miskaimin. Then the actions of a child help. So what does that mean? So when in a place where the adult's thought helps, let's say without doing anything, in that situation the child's actions miskaimin help as well. But the child's thoughts, right, without an action doesn't help. So here, the person who's gathering it, right, is an adult. So his machshava, he's already decided, I've done enough. As far as I'm concerned, this fruit is complete. It's fully gvar malacha, everything. Now, when the child cuts it, his machshava doesn't help to consider it gvar malacha unless he does an action of covering the basket. He's showing on his machshava that he's finished to do enough. So we're saying the child's thought is not enough. The child needs the action. But an adult can have the thought, but the child needs to do more. That's what we're saying over here. So machshava child doesn't help unless his actions show what his thought was. Okay? That's what we're saying here. So that's it. So an adult, yes, I'm ready. I'm finished with them now. They're fine. That's fine. But in a child, oh no, that's not enough. You need a cover as well. Rav Zira asked, Klum machshavta shel gadol miskayemes. Now, surely the thought of an adult, oh, I've done enough, and miskayemes, and that will therefore create a tevel status. But will that happen? Ad sheyiftach l'shuk. You have to at least open the basket to sell it in the market. I mean, no, is it going to be until you sell it in the market? Basically, as long as you haven't got intention to sell it in the market, it's not kavel masa until it comes in the house. So, until you haven't thought about selling it in the market yet. So why? Why is it tevel now? Similarly, we should have said, a masav shel katan miskaimin. We shouldn't, basically the actions of a child shouldn't help. Ad sheyiftach, until they open the basket, l'shuk, to actually sell it in the market. Because the child has to do an action on his thought. If you just open the basket in the market, okay, maybe it'll help. Then his actions show he wants to sell the fruit. But he's not done that yet. In fact, he's put a lid on the basket in the field, right? Why is that enough? There's no proof his intention is to sell it in the market. It could be he just put a lid on to take home. And therefore it will only be when it reaches the house. You understand? So basically the fact that he's put a lid on this basket doesn't mean he wants to sell it in the market. There we are. So it's a very good question. I'm afraid we have no answer. Okay, now we want to ask about the din of Rav Hamnuna. The child's kavana is not important unless he has an action with it, like putting a lid on. Masnisa pliga Rav Hamnuna. Our Mishnah seems to argue Rav Hamnuna. We said, Tinoikas shetavlu te'edim l'Shabbos. Remember the children, remember what they got up to? They hid the figs in the field for Shabbos. The shachol asked when they forgot to take Maaseh. Lo yachol Masechet Shabbos had triyasu. Once Shabbos comes, they have to take Maaseh. Now they didn't do any Maaseh to show that their gathering was for Shabbos. Oh. They didn't do any Maaseh to show their gathering was for Shabbos. So the figs are still tevel, right? They didn't do any action here. So you see, a machshava of a child without an action has got a koyach to be kavel a Maaseh. And that goes against Rav Hamnuna, that a child's kavana doesn't help unless he does a Maaseh mochiach. Because here we're saying they've designated for Shabbos, and that's it. It needs Maaseh, even though they've not done any action. Rav Zira b'shem Rav Hamnuna, Tifta, we can explain the case. V'sheligtum im dimdumei chama. They cut these figs just before sunset, and that they're obviously done for the sake of Shabbos. V'chiach Maaseh shohen al machshavtan, and you see their action based on their thoughts. That's why they become tevel. You have to do it a minute before Shabbos comes in. Now, if they gathered it, let's say a few hours before, when there's no action on their evidence, on their thought, then it wouldn't be tevel. But last minute, yes, it is tevel. Now, we brought Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan Rish Lakish about Shabbos being kaver l'maaseh. Now, according to Rabbi Yochanan, Shabbos is kaver even though you didn't actually prepare the fruit for the sake of Shabbos. They weren't prepared for Shabbos, but Shabbos comes, it's kaver. Rish Lakish argues, he says, no, it's only fruit that were prepared for Shabbos. So now, how are we going to explain our Mishnah with these children who hid the figs, right? Each one, let's see how these opinions fit in. So we're going to first look at Rabbi Yochanan. So Rabbi Yochanan said, look, you get your fruit, you don't prepare it for Shabbos. Shabbos comes in, Shabbos is kaver. Right? It's not nothing to do with what your thoughts were. Shabbos comes in, Shabbos is kaver. So how do we fit that in with these children here? Less hadoplika Rabbi Yochanan. To Rabbi Yochanan, he says Shabbos tevelis. He says Shabbos is kaver l'maaseh, even though it wasn't picked for Shabbos. Now our Mishnah is mashma, the figs that were picked by the children are kaver for maaseh because they did it for the sake of Shabbos. It's implying because they did it for Shabbos. Neisha Linktum the Shabbos. Linktum Shaloi the Shabbos, if they were doing it for Sunday, no, they would not be Kavel Masa, you'd able to eat it, alright, when Shabbos goes out. So it sounds like it's only because they did it for Shabbos, it's not Rav Yechon. Rav Yoda, B'Shem Rav Amnuna, he said the truth is, the Peros are Kavel Masa, even if they weren't picked for Shabbos. So then why does the Mishnah say they were picked for the sake of Shabbos? It's telling you a Chiddush, Afilu Linktum the Shabbos, even if the case where you actually pick them for Shabbos, you're allowed to eat it temporary Friday afternoon. We don't say it's Kavel L'Maseh as soon as you prepare it. We don't say that. This opinion is saying no, it's only when actually Shabbos comes in. Now, Afilu Dush Lakish, the one who holds Rish Lakish, he says Shabbos is Kavel if it's prepared for Shabbos. Less he pliga. Our Mishnah is it not arguing? Now these children here, they prepared the figs for Shabbos. And the children, Afilu Liktum LeShabbos, even if they cut them, children doing things, if they cut them for Shabbos, it's Kamisha Liktum Shaloi LeShabbos. It's if they did it not for Shabbos, their thought doesn't count. As Rav Nuna said earlier on. So their thought is nothing, and yet the Mishnah says that fruit is Tevel because of Shabbos. Rav Yossi B'Shem Rav Hila, Tifta, we can explain the case Shaliktum Didume Chama. I refer you to the answer I gave before. We gathered the strass before sunset, and it's obviously clear that the figs were being cut for the sake of Shabbos. And therefore the thought comes on there, the action shows me what the thought was, that they were going to eat on Shabbos. Since the machshava of the children has got an action with it, that gives it chashivos, therefore it's kever Shabbos for Masa, even according to Rish Lakish. Okay? So far so good, Rabbi said. Kalkeles Shabbos. So you got a basket which you've designated for Shabbos. Beis Hillel obligate Maaseh straight away, even Friday afternoon. Rabbi Lazar Shem Rabbi Shim. It's talking about a basket of figs, which you've got a designated basket, and you're showing you want them. You're important. These figs are important. You're not going to change it for anything else. You're going to leave it for Shabbos. The Rabbi Yadayah really said, I feel a nitzvah. Even if you put the figs in some sort of wickerwork thing. Harav is what again? Willow made basket or something, which is not really designated for figs. Once you put them in a basket designated for Shabbos, they are tevel for Maaseh. Rabbi Lazar ben Antinos Shem Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Yana. Tifta, you could fit in our Mishnah, but Te'ena Mehimuchedes. It could be it's a fig tree which is designated for Shabbos. Right? A fig tree designated for Shabbos. How good that sounds. But in this situation, you're not going to change the fruit from their designation, and therefore they're not tevel for Maaseh. What is he saying? It's like a special tree for the sake of Shabbos. He says here, the fruit of that tree are miyuchad for Shabbos because they're beautiful and they taste good. You see from here how beloved was them the mitzvah of kivud and oneg Shabbos. They would be miyached for Shabbos, a tree that had good fruit. And so we find in Mora Ola, they planted in olive trees for Ner Chanukah and Esrogim to keep the mitzvahs of Abar Minim, and they also had a special care that they looked after these trees and the fruit should grow well. Okay, that's how far they went. And my father, Alav Shalom, in his house, he had some lights that were only put on Shabbos. During the week, in the front room, whatever, this light, which was a big light, only on Shabbos it came on, never during the week. There we are. Okay. Doma, we have a story. Rav Chia, Rav Asi. Have a Yasvin, they were sitting. Avachad, one went by time, Kalkala to Ta'imim, carrying a basket of figs. Amrele, they said, Li Zabun. Salasam, Amrele, he says, Kalkala Shabbos, Edom Zabna. I'm not selling this. They would look after their fruit, which was in the Kalkala Shabbos. They wouldn't change it for anything else. Rabbi Yehuda said, if one person takes a basket to send to your friend, you shouldn't eat till you take Maaseh. Rabbi Chia b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan. Ilai Amar. Rabbi Yehuda. Had Rabbi Yehuda not told us this? Kalkala Shabbos. That's where, with the Shabbos one, that's where it's Tevel, as soon as you put it in the basket. Or maybe, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, maybe he said he's in, Beliket Kalkala l'shachal l'chabeiroi. You're taking a basket to send to your friend, even not Shabbos. Maybe, does he mean a Shabbos one or even a non-Shabbos one? Maybe it's Tevel because Shul Makbid Aleh, you're very particular not to change it for something else. Just like you're particular with Kalkala Shabbos. Therefore it's Choshuv upon you, and therefore it's got a din Tevel as soon as you designate it. So what we're asking is, it could be he only said it did with the Shabbos basket, then it's take a tevel straight away. Or it could be he said it's din with any basket you're sending to your friend. Yeah, the same din will apply because you're very careful about it, very particular about it. That's a very good question, and we have no answer. The Rambam learns in his Pirush, Rabbi Yehuda was talking about Kala Shabbos, the first side of the Torah. He's actually talking about Shabbos baskets. The Rosh and the Rosh learn even a basket not miyuchim for Shabbos. Okay, because you're just sending it to your friend. It's not a Shabbos basket. Okay, hanoitel zeisim min hamatan. You take the olives from this mound of olives. You can dip one in a time in salt and eat it without separating masa. Now we brought the din of Rav that if you bring figs which are going to be dried out into the courtyard, you want to eat it, you have to take masa. Although they're not gemar malacha, and the courtyard is not kaver masa, something not complete, but it's ma'aser ayin. People think the figs are there for eating, so it's reached gemar malacha stage. And they go into the courtyard, kabbalah masa. So the Gemara asks from our Mishnah on the words of Rav. Les hada pliga, this din of our Mishnah, you can carry on eating arai from these olives, from this mound. Al Rav, this seems to go against Rav. The Mishnah allows you to eat arai from the olives because they're there for shemen, they're not yet complete, they're not gemar malacha. And the Rav said, the one who puts the figs to dry in the courtyard, you can't eat it arai because people will think that they're there for eating, and it's already reached gemar malacha, and it's chayav maseh in the courtyard. We should have forbidden, therefore, our case as well. People might think that the olives are there for eating, and that they've already reached gemar malacha stage, and they were chayav by coming into the house. So the Gemara answers, Pasala, we talk about a Mishnah case, but Oisa Matan Pasada. Talk about a case where you're making it in the field and not in the house. You're making this mound. Even if people think, they're there for eating, olives are mutter arai. You can eat it in the field. Yeah, in the field you can eat temporary eating. They've not seen the house. Rav was talking about figs that are already in the courtyard. So if you have to worry, people would see it and they think, these figs are for eating. They're ready kaver l'maseh. They've come in the courtyard. Now we said if you dip more than one olive in the salt and you put it in front of you, you have to take maseh. But the kasha is hard to understand what's going on. Because if it's talking about a case, you have massive because melach toveles, because salt creates the tevel status. Lamali siruf, why do you need a few olives together? The siruf, because it's a few, lamali melach, why do you need the salting? So any action is not enough. He says, el alidezeh, alidezeh. You need the putting together and the salting. It becomes tevel. Because the siruf is machshib, the olives like the gemar malacha. Since you got gemar malacha, then the salting is kaver l'maseh. So basically it's the two together. Right? It's the few olives together with salting. And that's enough. Right. Now after we brought the words of the Tanakhama, that if you salt a few, one by one, you're potter from taking maseh, we have another opinion. Rabbi Lezer said if you're a Tomei person, and you took from the Tahar mound, remember what we said? He said you have to take maseh, even if you do one by one, because there's no way you're going to put any back, because they become tamei now. So it's therefore still eating. But if you took from a tamei ones, then you're potter from maseh, because you can put back what you've taken. He says, what are we talking about here? If you have two mounds, one tamei one and tahar one, then divrei kol should be mutter. Then everyone will say you're allowed to eat without taking maseh, even if you take from the tahar one. You can't return the olives, which are tamei, to the tahar one, but you can return them to the tamei one. So whatever happens, you're going to put back the rest. And if you only have one tahar one, then divrei kol also. Then everyone will say it's forbidden even to eat one by one without taking maseh, because you can't put back the olives that are left into the tahar one. So everyone will agree it's a chilas keva. So where is there an argument? And the kiyan argument, all we talk about Yerushalmi Maasrot Daf, right? You've got a tahar mound. Your friend has a tamei mound. So in this situation, look, you're not going to put your olives in his mound. You follow? No one does that. And since you're not going to put the olives back, therefore it's as if you've got nowhere else to return them. You only have a tahar one, and therefore it's considered achilas keva. But Rabbanan said no. Adon machzeh. You may return your olives into his mound. It's as if you've got a tamei one and a tahar one. Therefore it's achilas arai because you can put back the rest. So the question is, will you use your friend's one or not? Shoisin alagas. We said you can drink the wine with hot water, cold water. Chaim said, hot water, you have to take Maaseh. Oh, Rabbi Yochanan. Alachamin, on wine diluted in hot water, Chaim, you have to take Maaseh. Shul keba, that's fixed. Through the diluting, is ready for drinking, and therefore it's a keba. Alatzainen, but as far as cold water, partially you don't have to take Maaseh because Shul Arai, that's temporary. Because Yachalu Malzate, you can return the wine back into the vat. So it follows the wine in the vat, which is not yet prepared for drinking. When you dilute with hot water, you're not going to put it back in the vat, okay? Because the wine in the vat will get ruined from hot wine. Therefore, it's considered derech keva, it's considered kriyas. Rabbi Yosef Shem Rav Zira, and we prove it to you. Rabbi Yoda, Rav Zira, Shem Rav Lazar. Af masha belogin lo nitzval. If you took wine from the vat, if you took wine without all the sediments and things from the vat into jugs, which is a big vessel, you brought it in the house, it's not tevel. Why? Now nothing else needs doing to it, but it's not considered gmar malacha. Why not? Your intention is to return what's left from your drinking back into the vat. I don't know, you drink half the cup, you'll put the other half back in the vat. Yeah, it's not gmar malacha. So even the wine in your jugs follows the other wine in the vat, and as if it's not gmar malacha. So the same thing in our case, as far as diluting the wine in a cup prepares it for drinking, that's not considered sias keba, because you'll put back what's left. Therefore, it follows the vat, which is not yet prepared for drinking. Okay. Halacha Gimel. Yeah? How we doing? Right. What is considered, we spoke about what's considered keva with drinking wine. Now, what's considered keva with eating grain, which is not gmar malacha? Hamakalef b'sa'irim. So you're removing the husks, the shells of barley in order to eat it. Mekalef achas achas ba'eichel. You can peel each grain, each kernel separately and eat them without separating maaseh. That's temporary eating. In kilef, if you did remove one barley, but you didn't eat it there. You basically, you put it in your hand, and then you ended up doing another peeling, and now you have a few in your hand. Chaim, you have to separate maaseh because that's considered achilas keva. Yeah, if you got a few in your hand already, that's keva. So you're rubbing the wheat kernels in your hands to take out the chaff, as it were. Is that right? Yeah. To remove there's sort of chaff there. Yeah, huh? Yeah, this is wheat, yeah. So you're rubbing them a bit. You remove them through rubbing it. Is the easier action. Barley doesn't get removed through rubbing. So you sort of peel it. But with wheat you can rub it. You can blow with your mouth to remove the chaff while you're rubbing them al yad from one hand to the second hand. And then you can eat without separating maaseh, because that's considered achilas arai. Okay? If you went and chose wheat, if you chose wheat and you put it afterwards into your pockets, chayav, you have to separate maaseh. Because that way of eating, when you've got a big amount in your pockets, is considered a fixed eating. Okay? So what we said, if you selected some wheat and then you put them in your pockets, you have to separate maaseh, right? Okay. So a big amount of wheat, that's achilas keva. Okay. We said in our Mishnah, you're allowed to peel barley and eat it bit by bit. And we're going to bring a case where you can peel it and eat it a few barleys together. Arazira. Now, although we said you can peel one at a time, that's with a normal person who can only peel one at a time. If he wants to do more, you have to put the peeled one down to peel the second one. And that's the way of derech keva. But Yachil Anova Kalef I can peel two at a time. People like me, even eating that is considered alright. I can eat it without maaseh. The Tali came with blood, but one who peels the barley, Shnayim, if he does two, is potter from maaseh. But Shalosh, 3, that's going a bit far. Chaim, you have to take Maaseh. In order not to contradict the Bryce with our Mishnah, which our Mishnah only allowed peeling one. So you say the Bryce is talking about people who can do two at a time, and the Bryce is talking about people who, for them it's alright, like the words of zero. So it depends how many you can peel in one go. But chitin, now peeling with wheat, the din is, if you can peel shalosh, 3, potter your potter, because they're very small, it's much easier to peel them, more than barley. So you can peel, Rav Zira could definitely peel 2 in one go, with wheat, with barley. You could definitely do 3 wheat in one go. But arba, 4, chayav. No, you have to take Maaseh. Now, what about another din? You're allowed to rub over the wheat and move it from hand to hand without taking Maaseh. They were sitting to Rav Lazar. Now, before we carry on with that story, Rav Yonah said, in Kula, now in every place where Rav Tachlifa has mentioned the Gemara, it means Rav Tachlifa bar Imi. But the Rav Tachlifa in this story is not. It's Rav Tachlifa bar Rav Imi. Alright? So elsewhere it's bar Imi, but here it's bar Rav Imi. And don't you forget that. And it makes more logical in Kula, and if you're going to tell me in every place it means Rav Tachlifa bar Rav Imi, then we don't have to say that there were 2 Amoraim with the same name. But it makes more sense, it's clear, Rav Tachlifa mentioned here is Rav Bar Rav Imi and not Bar Imi. Right? Bar Rav Imi and not Bar Imi. So whether there are 2 people, well then this is what we're talking about here. But if they're the same person, so be it. Okay? Now, Now Rabbi Elazar had a lot of these wheat kernels in his hand. Kitre's Basik to the ends of his fingers, and Rav Huna bar Chidna Rav Tachlifa bar Rav Imi were taking from his hand, peeling a bit and eating them. He sees that, he turns his face to the wall, and he breaks the ones which in his hand. And he showed them Malay Shialon, a whole fistful of peeled barley, to teach them you're allowed to do a lot in one go. Now the Gemara brings a Raj of Elazar that you can also sort of do a lot and eat without lanafos, to sort of sieve a lot, to do a lot, and to eat without separating maaseh. But Tani came, we said you're allowed to break down these kernels and separate the chaff. Vivad, you should not sort of sieve it, not with these vessels designated for sieving, but then it looks like a chilas keva chayv maaseh. And these vessels, the kanayin and the tamchoy, they sieve a big amount of kernels, and the brisa only forbids this one because it's done through kalim. So basically, if you do a big amount in your hand, it's permitted, or you blow them or whatever, it's permitted without separating maaseh. Or the Shabbos, and as far as one who breaks them and sieves them on Shabbos, where with a kinon or tamchoy is over and it's a Torah of Dosh, you're not chayav chatzas ad kegregos. Still, you do the amount of a shiv of gregos with all melachos Shabbos with food. The shit to be chayav has got to be a gregos, okay, which is a date, right? Let's carry on. What do we see from here? You're allowed to break down these kernels, even a big amount, without taking maaseh. It's also mashma from our Mishnah. The chiv to be maaseh belilos is only if you put them in your clothes. But if you're holding them in your hand, you can carry on and eat even a big amount without taking maaseh. Now, why is this then different from the peeling of the barley? Rav Chia barada boikum Rabbana. In the brisa earlier on we brought Atami said besairim with barley. If you're peeling, shtayim potter 2 you don't have to take maaseh. Shalosh chayim 3 you do. But here, as far as breaking down the kernels of the wheat, you're telling me even a big amount is permitted is potter from maaseh. Why can you not peel more than 2 barleys without separating maaseh? But breaking the melilos of wheat, you're allowed to do even more. But he says, Shani Yahacha, this case of melilos is different. Even after the melila and this, whatever, they're not completely separated, the chaff. Therefore, Machzir Samosa, you'll put some back from your eating the goren, you'll put it with the rest, which is not peeled. And therefore, even if you do a big amount, it's derech arai, you'll put it back. But the kilof, the peeling, they become properly clean from the chaff. You're never going to put it back with the others. And therefore, when you're peeling even 3 barley or 4 wheat, that's derech keva. The Tani came, we've also learned when we say you can't peel more than 2 barley, it's not near to the goren. If it's nearby to the goren, if it's even more than that's permitted. Because in this case, even though the kilof, you're doing a lot of birur, right? You're separating the husks. Nevertheless, if you're still out there in the field, you'll put back everything you've not dealt with, right? Because you're next to it. Therefore, even if you do peel a lot, you'll consider derech harai. And the price is the right of Yisod Ramana. Whenever you're always going to put it back, even a big amount is derech harai, because you'll just put back what's not been done. Okay? Halacha Dalet. Still with me, Rabbi Isaac? Halacha Dalet. Kriyat Maaseh is on the fruit and not on the other parts of the plant. And even if they're fitting to eat. Now we're going to talk about some plants, and it talks about the various parts which are choshev in the fruit, Chaim Maaseh. Kuzbar, a green vegetable, coriander, and you leave it a while, it gets hard, the leaves get hard, seeds grow. Shazar lezera, if you sowed it to eat the seeds, you're going to grow until it produces seeds, you'll eat them. Yuraka, the leaves are potter. Zara leyerek, if however you sowed it for the vegetable, in other words, you planted the kuzbar in order to pick the leaves and to eat them, then misaser, then the kuzbar does need maaser. Right? Also the zera and also the yolk, also the seeds and also the vegetable. Rebbe Lezer says, Hasheves. Sheves, aniseed? No. Sheves, which one is this one? It's a type of vegetable that's got leaves and twigs and seeds. Sheves? I can't remember. Well, dill, yeah. Miss Aseres. You have to take maaser, also the zera, also the seeds, there's the yolk, the leaves, with zirim, and the other twigs, whatever, the branches. Even if you didn't sow the sheves only for the sake of the seed. Chachamim say, no, you don't have to take maaser on zera, the yerek. You don't take maaser on the seed and the leaves when they weren't done for the sake of the leaves. Ela shachalayim, only bagaga bavad. Only the sort of plants of the cress of some kind, and garlic, right? The leaves of sheves and other plants are not chayav maaser unless they're sown for the sake of the leaves. Otherwise, you don't have to take maaser. Okay. Rav Gamliel, he said, tomorrows. These are things that look like dates. They grow when the fruit starts sprouting. But these are sort of buds. Really, they're buds, shall tilton, of your fenugreek. The shalachad al-maser, shall put a love on the other white bean. Hayavos b'maser. You do have to separate maser, because you read them, you do eat them, and they're considered like a fruit. Now, Rebbe Lezer hatzlaf, the capers. Remember hatzlaf from brachos? Hatzlaf misaser. You have to separate maser on the tzlaf and the capers. Tomorrow's the berries. Tomorrow's various perushim on it. Okay. Aviones are the fruits of the caper. Kafros is the shell that surrounds the fruit when it's small. Rebbe Kiva says, you don't have to take maser. Elavin is only the actual fruit. Nesha hen pri, that is the fruit of the caper bush. But not the other bits and pieces that come with it. Okay. What about the coriander that you sowed for seed or for vegetable? Chizkiah said, the coriander you sowed for seed, and then you decided to eat the leaves, given shalokat mimena shtayim or shalish, you took 2 or 3 that you picked, let's say madayas of the leaves, it shows you want the growth of it for the sake of the leaves. Therefore, this counts ba'a, is considered like one which was sown by Machshavas Yerek. It was sown for the sake of the leaves, and you have to take master, therefore also included the leaves. After Inyan Zera came. Now also with Machshava of seeds, the same did. If at the beginning you sowed it for leaves, you change your mind and you want to leave it for seeds, Kivan Shemana, you left out 2 or 3 pickings of the leaves, you're showing your intention is to grow it for the seeds. Therefore, it is coming bar, it's considered like a kuzba which is sown machsheves zera for the sake of the seeds, and then the leaves are potter from maser, right? If you only want the seeds, then the leaves are potter from maser. Now, what about kriyas maser for kuzba which was sown for zera or yerek? Let's see, what about here? What is the year of maser? How does that relate? So zara, if you... no place to start unless we get to the end of the parak. Let's see. Zara lezera. If you sowed it for seeds, misaseres l'sha'ava, then the Maisa year is based on the previous year when it started growing, which is like pulses. Zara leyerek, if you sowed it for vegetables, for the leaves, mis aseres labo, then it's based on the following year, in the year it was cut, which is like vegetables, right? So zera is last year, like pulses, and leaves is this coming year, like vegetables. Zara lezera ula yerek, if you sowed it for two things, or you sowed it for seeds and then you thought about it also for vegetables. Maaseh mizara al yarka. You can take maaseh from the seed on the vegetable, or miyarka al zara, and from the vegetable, the leaf, on for the seed. And it's not considered maaseh one for the other type, because the seed and the leaves are considered one min, providing that the kriyas of the maaseh year and of the leaves and the seeds is the same year. Now this deal is talking about a case. Let's say you gathered the leaves before Rosh Hashanah, so you can take maaseh, the vegetable, the leaves for the seeds, because gathering the leaves was still in the year last year. Shrias maaseh, the year of the maaseh year of the leaves, was in the same year of the seeds for maaseh. But if you only picked it after Rosh Hashanah, then zara misaseh l'she'ava, the seeds is misaser for the previous year, based on the previous year. Yarka, misaser, the leaves are based on the next year. This is again, if you gathered it, if you only picked it after Rosh Hashanah, the seeds are last year, and the leaves are based on the year of picking. So that's next year. Because with vegetables, the din is b'shasli kitasa isore. When you cut it, that's when you take maaseh. And you'll end up with two different years, so they do different things. And when we said that the seed and the leaf, or the seed is last year, that's also kashehevi shlish, when it grew a third before Rosh Hashanah. If you only grew a third after Rosh Hashanah, then everything is in the new year. Then everything is in the new year. Okay? So if you only grew a third into the new year, then everything is like the leaves are in the new year because the vegetables are cut in the new year, and the pulses grew a third in the new year. Everything's in the new year. Rabbi Lezer, Hasheves, the dill, is Chaim b'Maaseh. Yeah. Let's see. How much is it to the end of the parak? It's a whole another Amud. Go on. Should we go to the end of the parak? Yeah. We'll go to the end of the parak. Rabbi Lezer Hasheves. Rabbi Lezer says Sheves is Chaim b'Maaseh, whether it's cut, whether it's seed, or whether it's leaves, or whatever. Whether it's cut, whether it's for seeds, or it's cut for leaves. Now, we had an argument, Chacham and Rabbi Lezer, and they said that the leaves of the dill is not Chaim b'Maaseh. We bring a brayso which talks about the Chachamim's view. Tani Rubba, Sheves, the dill, Shazara lezera, you sowed it for seeds. This aseres, it has maaseh, zera, when it's cut, when it is seeds. In the time of the seeds, you cut it for seeds. The Elam is aseres, yerek. However, you don't, so the seeds come later, right? The leaves come earlier. So you don't take maaseh if you cut it prematurely when it's still leaf state. Have you got this? Yeah? You don't take maaseh if you cut it prematurely when it's still leaf state, because your intention was for the seeds. Zara leyerek. If your intention was you sowed it for leaves, misasera zera v'yerek, then the maaseh on the seeds and the leaves. The enam misasera zirin, but not the twigs and things. Zara lezirin, if you sowed it for the twigs, misaseres, then you have to take maaseh on the seeds, zera, v'yerek, and the leaves, v'zirin, and the twigs. Basically, you're giving them importance, even the twigs, which is the worst part of the dill. So also the other parts, more choshev, they're considered like a fruit. You have to separate maaseh. But Tanina, we've learned, you're not going to find anything that has a maaser obligation on the zera, the seeds, and the yerek, and the leaves. The cress, the only these. Sounds like the vegetable of dill, leaves of dill are not chaim maaser, even if they were sown for the sake of the leaves. Because we're saying only cress. So the answer is kilimas. This is the way to learn it. There's nothing that you sowed for the sake of seed, and you have to take maaseh on zera, on the seed, v'yerek, and the leaves, only the cress. So if you've sowed dill for leaves or twigs, the chachamim agree you have to take maaseh also on the leaves. Okay? Now, what about Rav Gamliel? Rav Gamliel said the bits of the fenugreek and the mustard and the beans are chai b'maaseh. Now, the chachamim argue on Rav Gamliel. We'll explain their view. Ma'apeligin, where the Chachamim argue from Gamliel? Zara lezera. It's such a tongue twister today, this year, I'll tell you. Zara lezera, you sowed it. The hardest tongue twister in Shas is in Churim. Daf Samach, I think it is. I think it's around there. I'm not sure where it is. Where it goes through the 24 birds in the Torah. The Ayon, the Da, the Ra, right? And the different Gemaras, which is the Ayon, which is the Dayan. That's the hardest tongue twister in Shas. Okay, but for now, we'll got this. Ma'apeligin. Where they argue in Gamliel, the zera, you sowed it for seed, and then the zera is considered a food. The zera is the food, not this tomorrows. What are these tomorrows? These are the berries or something. No, not them. Our zara yerek, if you sow it for the leaves, after a bottom the Chachamim agree, in this situation, if you thought you're going to eat the leaves, then even the leaves are as choshuv like a food, you have to take maaseh. And definitely these sort of berries, which are more fitting to eat, you're chayv and maaseh. So you've got zera, you've got these berries, and you've got leaves. You're saying if you're thinking about the leaves, then even the berries are chayv and maaseh. If you think about the seeds, then the berries are not. Okay? The tali cake, we've also learned, Nagin beis nayin b'yarka, they had a minhag, this was mustard that was sown for the leaves. Nagin beis nayin b'yarka beheta. When they ate the leaves of the mustard, they wouldn't separate maaseh. Divrei Rebbe Lezer. And the time of the Brayso said, Lo yamar ele divrei Rebbe Lezer, that's Rebbe Lezer's view. Or divrei hakol, according to everyone else, the mustard is sown for the leaves, therefore chayav. Therefore the leaves are chayav maaseh. So in this situation, the Chachamim agree that even the leaves are chayav maaseh. So definitely they'll say about these berries that are also chayav, which are more important than the leaves. Therefore chayav. And the same thing with tilton, that's the fenugreek and the white beans. They've got the same din as the mustard. Tani, we learned in the Brayso, hapol b'sa'irin, the beans and barley, tilton and fenugreek, shazar liyerek, you sow them for leaves, but l'dato, he's mad, because most people don't sow this for the leaves. Therefore, zaron chayav, only the seeds are chayav, v'yirak and potter, the leaves are potter. So this Brayso says, even if you do the fenugreek for the leaves, I'm afraid these leaves are not considered food, and they're potter for maaseh. Rav Yirmiyah said, you know what? That Brayso is the view of Rebbe Lezer. He's an individual. The Chachamim will argue on Gamliel and Mishnah. They hold that if you do it for leaves, yes, you are chayav to take maaseh. Rebbe Lezer Omer Hatzlaf. He said the caper, you have the berries, you have the fruit, you have the peel. Rabbi Kiva said only the fruit. Shmuel said kafras, which is the peel of the caper, also mishum klippin. It's problem because you have shells of arla there. The Tani came, we learned in it, right? It says, Varaltem, Arla says, period. We dash and Davashu Irel as period. Something which covers up its fruit. It's this shell, there's a problem of Arla with it. Rab Mefaked, Rab would command, Ilin Debei Ravasi, there's Hamidim based Melech Ravasi, Rav Huna, Hamnuna, and Rav Hamnuna Mefaked, they would command Lechavraya, Tevian Mefakdin Lin Sheikhain. You should tell your wives, Kadhinon Kovshin, Hado Kavrisa, when they pickle the peel of the caper, they should remove from it the fruit, because they're also because of arla. So they're saying basically the shell is not a problem, but the fruit is a problem, right? The kafras is not also because of arla. It's not like Shmuel said even the shell is a problem. He's saying no, the fruit is a problem. Now why, according to the Amoraim, why is the shell not a problem? Aspri Rav Zira explained it to me. Look, most shells grow with the fruit. So it's problem of arla. But this shell is different from other shells. You'll say, why is this shell different from all other shells? Because pri melamala, the fruit of the caper melamala is from above, or clipping, and the shell is melamatan from below. It doesn't actually surround the whole fruit. It's not like other shells which are chayav arla because they guard the fruit. This shell doesn't guard the fruit. Now we bring a Brayso, we talked about separating maaseh from capers. Hakafras v'atamoros. The shells and the berries of the slaf, min achadein, they're considered one. Maaseh, you can take maaseh, mekafras, for the berries, from the shell, for the berries of the shells. Min atzmaris, alakafras. Avaloi mehen alav, not for them, onto the fruit. Min avyones alen, and not from the fruit onto them. The fruit is one special type. The berries and the shells, that's something else. But you can't take maaseh one from the other. Avyonos, the berries, noisin alen chumrei ilan, v'chumrei zrain. You have to give restrictions treating it as a tree, and also a vegetable. there's a suffix if the kepa is a type part of a tree or a type of vegetable. But later mila, what was that said for? If you have fruit, which budded in the second year of the Shvita cycle. Second year you separate Masechet. You pick them in the third year. Third year you separate Masechet. If you have a doubt, is it Chaim Masechet or Masechet? Is it considered like a tree? Then the year is based on the second year, based on the budding. If it's like a vegetable, it's based on the third year, based on the picking. So the din is, Shul Mafrish, you separate Masechet. Upodeo, you have to redeem it onto money. Then you give it on the name of this fruit, the name of Masechet, and you give it Nosel, you give it to the poor man. You have to keep 2 Maasros on it. Because we don't know, is it a tree or is it a vegetable? Now the Gemara brings a brayso which talks about the Issa Kalayim. Issa Kalayim includes 2 types of Isurim. The Kalaya Kerem in the vineyard, you mustn't sow grain and vegetables in the vineyard. And Kalai Zraim, you mustn't sow 2 types of grains together. Now with a tree, you don't have the 2 Isurim. So what about capers now? Is it like a tree? Atzlaf, the capers, Beshama Yomrim, Beshama say Kilayim, it's Kilayim Bekerem, when it's planted in a vineyard, it's a suffix vegetable. The Eina Kilayim, but it's not considered Kilayim when it's sown Bezroim with other seeds. So there's no Issa Kalai Zroim, because it looks more like a tree, it's not considered mixed with other seeds. But they said Eina Kilayim, it's not Kilayim, like Bekerem, not in a vineyard, but Bezroim, not with seeds. Hakol Moedim, everyone agrees. Even Beis Shammai who say there's Kilayim like a vegetable, they agree, Shuchai Ba'arla. Now it is Chai Ba'arla like a tree. Because Beis Shammai are not sure if it's like the slaf is a tree or vegetable. They will machmir, definitely you treat it as a vegetable. They will machmir with Arla to treat it as a tree. Tani, now the Gemara discusses, is it a type of tree? Is it a type of vegetable? It brings another klal, how you can tell the difference. Tani, Rabchina Bar Papa, Ashu Oila Migizai, if a plant grows from the trunk of the stump of the tree, from above the ground, min ilan, that's a type of tree. There's not a problem of kilayim when it's in the vineyard. But if the roots grow, misharasha, from the roots under the ground, min yerek, type of vegetable, there's also kilayim when it's planted in the vineyard. But haticha, but they asked them that. Harei akruva ila begizai. Wait a minute. The kruv, what is it, the cabbage, that grows from the stump, and nevertheless you treat that as a vegetable. So he says, Kab, the Gemara answers here, the cabbage, we're talking about bavada, a definite case. We know the kruv is a type of vegetable. But the Bryce says, Kab, it's talking about the leaves where they grow from the stump or the roots. It's talking about the case where there's a suffix. We don't know what it is. Then we base it on this cloud. But when we know for sure that it's a type of vegetable, then it's got a different vegetable, even if the leaves come from the stump.